jumped off that train long before everybody else did. It's not for any particular reason. It just happened. I should maybe go back and finish that out. That one's pretty good. I think you'd have a hard time floating It's Only Sunny now, starting it in 2024. I do think you'd have a hard time with that now. The Neighborhood is number 4 on this list. Cedric the Entertainer's in this. You've probably never seen that. Abbott Elementary. I don't know anything about that either. Young Sheldon is number 2. Now, I can't be shocked here as The Big Bang Theory was the biggest sitcom on television when it was on. More people, this is true, more people, you can check this out. It was in Rolling Stone, as a matter of fact. I'll never forget reading it. More people were watching The Big Bang Theory than The Office and 30 Rock combined. That's how big The Big Bang Theory was. So I'm not surprised Young Sheldon was doing well. I watched, I think, the first 2 seasons of it. Once the kid starts to get a little too old, he's no longer cute. He's now just obnoxious, and you want to punch a 10-year-old. When he was little, it's like, this is kind of cute. Once he started to age and the puberty thing started to happen for Young Sheldon, the show did not come off as well, and that's why they made it mostly about his brother getting his girlfriend pregnant. They started to realize this. The Sheldon character starting to get obnoxious because he looks a little too old for it. And then the number 1 sitcom they tell me here is Ghosts on CBS, which I made it through about half of an episode. I'm sorry, but that's a top 10 list of Jerry Seinfeld being dead-ass right. He's right! Do it as, like what I said, hitting the Staples button of just like, I just want to complain about this. And that's why if you want to be taken seriously, you're going to have to change the language around. I know that sounds like you're playing their game. And maybe it is a little. But that's what's going to be required. But this is voted on by fans. That's the top 10 sitcom list now. 8 of the 10 you've never heard of. 2 of them are over. And I'm supposed to think Jerry Seinfeld's wrong about this? I don't like how he said it, but what he said is dead on. 9 a.m. is New Turd Tuesday. New stuff from Shabuzi and David Gilmour. That all part of New Turd Tuesday. The studio's textable at 330-450-7625. Plenty of you have, as we've been talking about this guy. Last week he said the movie business is over, and now he's talking about how sitcoms are, well, over. He's blaming peace. If Jerry Seinfeld comes out in an interview and says this, nobody has an issue. I just kind of feel like the sitcom's a little stale right now. Nobody says anything about that. He's not a boomer. Let's not get off my lawn. But when he accuses people of being guilty of the reason why we don't have it, they get real defensive. And look at how wrong that proves him. I mean, there's a little bit of this, right? We have a term, it's called re-binging. You think re-binging is going on if you loved everything new that was coming out? Why do people watch The Office over and over and over and over again? Because you love it, yes. But because there's a hole in entertainment where that used to go. We don't have it right now. I don't know if that's all the extreme left. I think and what about, I don't think you should, and secretly, that led to people going, oh, all right, God damn it, fine, let's just write this, well, let's write. And it changed some of the entertainment. There's no denying that. Why are we watching the same shows over and over again? If new stuff was coming out and it was funny, we wouldn't need The Office as much as we do. He's right about what he said. How he decided to say it is where, of course, once you say woke, people are going to, again, once you use that word, people shut their ears off. They now feel attacked. And they get defensive. But I think what he's saying is that not trying this conversation. Why? Just start a pod. Do that. Now that's going to wear out too. It already has, as a matter of fact. Podcasting's like everything else. There's 15 podcasts that pull all the numbers, and everything else is just kind of twirling out there in obscurity. It's just true. It's the reality. I work for a company that hosts them all. We see numbers, right? It's kind of how it works. There's a lot of them that are doing well, but the bulk of them are not, right? But that's where the entertainment is. I don't think you can say comedy is dead when every stand-up comedian has a pod that's doing big numbers. As a matter of fact, there was an actor I liked in a show that I didn't know was a stand-up comedian until podcasting. There was a show on Showtime. It was called Billions. And it's all about, the financial sector and, guys who, steal your future out from underneath you by shorting stocks and the like. And it was based around a fictional character called Bobby Axelrod, and they did base that around a real guy. Dan Soder was in that. Now, a lot of comedians, and so I'm trying to get Dan Soder too, because I liked Bill. I didn't know that guy was a comedian. He was funny in that show. The show's not a comedy, but he provided some comedy in it. Finally, a sitcom's going to be funny. Finally, a sitcom worry about who they are just going to be funny. It's a lot of pressure to put on Shane, and I think a lot of people are going to walk away from the first episode feeling the one constant I have seen over the years is cream rises to. And so if something was that at those places, my guess is we would be watching it, would be seeing it. I still think I think you're right about attention spans being spread out too far. I would agree that there is a point in that. I don't think that's because remember, I was in here, it was 10 years ago, and I said, there are people who are legitimately online now saying that the world is so serious we should not joke around. And people laughed at me and thought I was making that up. I wasn't. There are people who feel like that. And so I think a lot of the entertainers and a lot of the networks said, okay, let's start with the more deep issue, serious thing, versus giving somebody a half hour to just kind of laugh something off. We used to be pretty good at laughing at ourselves. We've gotten much better. Food's awesome. Oh my God, there's so much. And like everybody, it's like, stop. They were screwing around. Like there's a stand-up comedian now who's saying this, and actually he's been accused of stealing this joke, and he may have. That the outrage over everything has gotten too far that now when he gets accused of saying something that's inappropriate, he's going to go, I'm sorry. To which they will, of course, reply, you don't mean that. And his response is, so you mean to say I can say something out of my mouth that I don't mean? Now you're getting it. Welcome back to the program. 9 a.m. Future Tuesday. New stuff from Shabuzi, part of that. And also a Rock the Bank keyword at 9 too. So Roger Goodell had a big moment in the sun this last weekend, right? The NFL draft seemed to go pretty well in Detroit there, heavily attended. I feel like the numbers in Cleveland would have been way bigger had that not just been right after COVID. But Goodell was talking to Pat McAfee about the state of affairs of the league and, are we going to move to 18 games versus 17? And Roger said, quote, I think we're good at 17 games right now, but listen, looking at how we continue. I'm not a fan of the preseason. I don't think we need preseason, Goodell told ESPN. That, again, before the second day of the draft. He said he would rather replace preseason games with a regular season game any day because that's just picking quality. He kind of like mentioned to the audience, I think they would rather have this too. And I can't speak for every NFL fan, obviously, but I can speak for myself. Am I more likely to watch a regular season game than I am a preseason game? Yes. I used to hear the argument all the time about how preseason kind of helps teams figure out if the third string guy can actually play or not. I feel like can't we just schedule more scrimmages with opposing teams in the preseason like we do? I think we all know preseason games are about the owners making a little bit extra money. They don't charge the same for the tickets, yes, of course, but there's a little bit of that, and there's it's on TV, and people will watch it if it's on, and but he's not wrong that I don't necessarily get excited about a preseason game. I don't. I don't think you really see a whole lot. As a matter of fact, during the preseason game, all you ever hear the announcer say is, well, they're only running about 12 plays, Jimmy, because they don't want to show the playbook to everybody else. Back to you, Bob. And that's kind of what happens. But another topic of conversation came up, and it was the Super Bowl. And I have made this argument forever that I would like to see the Super Bowl on Saturday. I don't think you will. And if we do, I don't think it'll be real soon. The NFL likes knowing the fact that they have ownership of Sunday. Sunday is kind of thought of the Lord's Day and then the Shield's Day. Kind of split, right? Jesus over here with the Ten Commandments in one hand and that helmet in the right one, right? That's Sunday in America, baby. Let's be honest, that's what it is, right? Now, saying that is a little crazy because they play on Monday, they play on Thursday. You get to late in the season, they'll play on a Friday. Hey, you want a Saturday game? Yeah, we'll give you some of those. So the NFL is pushing into more days of the week. So I don't know why they're so resistant to a Saturday night Super Bowl game. My guess is, if I could guess, Saturday night, more likely, more people are going to be out. They don't want to compete with a Saturday night, although they put plenty of playoff games on Saturday, so I can't imagine that's what it is anymore. The Super Bowl's big enough to where it would get you to stay home on a Saturday versus anything else you're going to go do. Or maybe you just turn that into what you're doing that night. Hey, party at Billy's, let's go there. So maybe that's not what it is. I don't know what the hell they're so resistant about this for, honestly. He said he doesn't see that happening, though, the Saturday thing. What he said is, what we could do, he could see a world where the game is played, Super Bowl will be played on President's Day weekend. And then the theory is that people have President's Day off of work. Now, not everybody does. But nothing really changes if you don't. Hey, we're moving the Super Bowl from Sunday to Sunday. So what's the difference? So, like, if they move it, so some people have the day off after the Super Bowl, I don't even think people who have to work the next day have anything to complain about with the NFL. If you want to go complain to your boss, okay, then that's a different conversation. And I think, by the way, if the Super Bowl was on Sunday night leading to President's Day, I think more corporations would end up giving you President's Day off because that conversation is happening. I could be wrong. It's a lot of optimism coming from a pessimist. That's a lot of optimism coming from me, but I think it could do that. But it's not fair. I mean, come on. You guys know how I feel about the word fair. Like, we know how I feel about that. That's not an adult word. It isn't. And life is not going to be fair. Trust me, I learned that at the ripe old age of 3.5 years old from a neighbor. Life ain't fair, baby. It just ain't. Like, it's just not the way that's going to be. And so I don't think that anybody could really complain about moving the game from Sunday to a different Sunday. You already don't have the day off after the Super Bowl now. So what's the difference if some people get it off and some people don't? Some people are taking that Monday after Super Bowl off now currently. You know how many people I know who use it as a vacation day? I would, by the way, if it wasn't such a big topic of conversation. Like, that's one of those days. Super Bowl Monday is like, all right, well, the worst commercials. Did you see this? Blame the ref. I can't believe this guy's still calling the game. And the show, go home. I mean, literally, in those days is like, okay, I know I don't have to read a whole lot that night. All I got to do is pay attention to this game, and we'll fill most of the minutes with that. But if that wasn't the topic of conversation the next day, I would probably take that Monday off. You don't think I want to get drunk and watch the Super Bowl? Of course I do. I don't, because I wake up very early. But if you're me, and most people are not, most people aren't talking about these things. Talking about it, most people aren't making their living that way. That conversation holds till Tuesday. You think anybody's going to look at me like I'm crazy for talking about the Super Bowl if we're all off on Monday and we're back on Tuesday? No, it's the first time we're all together since that happened. It's still going to be the conversation. We talked the Super Bowl and Taylor and all that stuff for 2 weeks after that happened this last year. It was rigged, man. Saw with my own ass. Rigged? The Chiefs were getting points. They're going to rig it and seduce you to bet the team that they're going to rig it to win? I mean, you have to be an absolute, and I mean complete dope show to think of it that way. Or just not have any working understanding on how gambling, on how sports works. Or it's just one of those two things. But I rigged, shot. It's like, no, dude, you're an idiot who just gets whipped up into a fever about every last thing ever. I like the idea. Whether or not, now here's the truth of this though, is that my company does observe President's Day. We get this off. I texted my boss this morning. We have a list here. Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have 11 official holidays on this schedule. And President's Day does happen to be one of them. I can say I have been very, very critical of working in corporate radio for as long as I have, and I probably shouldn't be because look how long I've been able to do it. That's first. Second, I have seen this industry and this company get way better, and I mean way better, about time off, not working as many weekends, taking more vacation days, and giving us more holidays off. I think this company is getting better at it. I don't know if that's the reality for everybody out there. I did look it up. President's Day, as of the last numbers calculated, they say it's the 7th most holiday given off to American workers. That's going to be a little far down the list for Roger to get the benefit of people not working on the Monday after when the Super Bowl is being played. If it was top 3, I think that argument works a little bit better for his side. Welcome back to the show. 9 a.m. New Tour Tuesday's got new David Gilmour part of that, the Piper's Call. We'll take a listen. Also, Rock the Bank with you. Pass out that $1,000 keyword, too. You know what I've done a bad job of this morning? Probably a lot. But telling you that I have Sonic Temple tickets to give you, I have done a very bad job of that. So we'll get those passed out before the end of the hour. We had been talking about the Super Bowl because Roger Goodell was on with Pat McAfee the other day and was talking about whether or not you could see the season extend to 18 games. You will. I don't care what he says. That's going to happen. And he also talked about the idea of maybe a Super Bowl on a Saturday. A lot of people like that idea. I'm one of them. And he said, I don't know about that, but we could maybe see it move to the weekend so people have the day off on Monday. Now, not a lot of people do. A number I saw on Google that I hope I can choose about 24% of workers. That doesn't seem high enough for it to be the benefit of doing it on President's Day weekend. Brad kind of just believes, look, dude, they want people at work next day. They want people talking about it. And I agree that they do want to be a topic of conversation. I'm going to guess that the NFL is a lot like some other things now. They care more about social media than they do about the roundtable TV shows talking about it. Also, if you're a podcaster without a network, without a boss, meaning like if you don't work for iHeartMedia, you're just like selling your show back to iHeartMedia, you're still going to do your pod on Monday, right? Of course. So I don't think it's they're not going to get talked about thing because of they care more now about the public talking about them than they do Skip Bayless. And so I don't know if that's the argument. I don't think it's none of it. I just don't think that's the number one reason why you don't move it to Saturday. I don't see that as the number one. It's probably on a list of reasons. I don't think it's near the top of it. I could be wrong, right? I mean, that's my opinion. It doesn't mean I'm right about it. Jody had said, well, look, man, he's like, you're talking about why they don't put it on Saturday. He's like, dude, it's the middle of the winter. There's nothing to do in the winter on a Saturday night. Okay, well, all right, well, slow down here. So not everybody lives in a cold weather state. A lot of the country does. But there's plenty to do in Las Vegas on a Saturday night in February. Plenty. There is plenty to do in Los Angeles on Saturday night in February. There's plenty to do in Miami on Saturday night in February. You know what I mean? So, like, not everybody has our television viewing experience. Now, the NFL is a Midwestern sport, like it kind of is. Look where the biggest player in the world is right now. He's in Kansas City. It is more blue collar than the other leagues. At least it feels that way. I don't know if it actually is, but they've done a good job of presenting themselves that way. And so I do think it is heavily viewed by a blue collar audience, the NFL, right? I don't think there's any denying that. Let's not get crazy. And so if you're looking for them to have the benefit, I'm not sure that's the best way to go about it. Now, Josh sees it a little differently. This came in off my text, as I know him a little bit. He says, for me, he's like, it makes you wonder why they don't just start the extended season a few weeks earlier and just have the Super Bowl near or around Christmas, as so many people are already off. Yeah, I'm willing to bet the hustle and the bustle and the players, although they got guys playing on Christmas Day, so that's not it. But I think maybe they could be worried about although no, not on Christmas Day. I mean, they're giving you, I think it's 3 games this year on Christmas. So it's not that. All right, that could be it. I think what they're worried about starting the season earlier is you start getting into October baseball, right? And so like you're already starting the season. I think it's September, right? And when they do that and all of that. And so I think they're trying to stay out of the way of the other leagues. Now, I didn't know this, but Gino wrote this in. And this came in off my Facebook. Gino is a big NASCAR fan. The profile photo is of stock cars. So I take it I can believe him in this. He says the Daytona 500 runs on President's Day weekend. Oof. Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Now, is the Super Bowl bigger than the Daytona 500? Yes. I mean, it's not even close. Yes. More people care about the Super Bowl than the Daytona 500. However, that being said, the Daytona 500 is referred to as what? The Super Bowl of NASCAR. And so I know a lot of guys who like both NASCAR and professional football. I am one of them. I am more a football fan than I am a NASCAR guy. NASCAR purists would call me a casual, and they would be right about it. But I do enjoy the sport, and am I more guilty of, do I want to watch Talladega? Yes. Do I need to watch the night race at Bristol? Yes. Do I want to see Las Vegas because I have family who lives there? Yes. Do I want to watch the Daytona 500? Yes. You get me to the Food City 500, and am I going to make sure I watch it? No. If I'm on the couch and it's on, will I watch 50, 60 laps at a time? Sure. But the Daytona 500 is a different animal. It is. It's like the Super Bowl. People who will tell you they can't stand NASCAR will be like, all right, well, we'll watch the Daytona. We'll watch the 500. And so if you're looking for viewership, I would look to stay out of the way of something like that. So I think that could be a little bit of a snag there, moving that to that weekend. I did not realize that, Gino. I appreciate that. I had not remembered that. Again, like I said, I am a casual, a NASCAR fan at best. Let me see here. This is coming in off my text line. The NFL does not care about what they have going on. That's why they do games on Christmas and to swash the NBA. They're not going to start early in the season because the weather is still nice in August and September, and the ratings are generally lower for those games as opposed to November and December. Yeah, I buy that. I buy that. You're not wrong that they are putting games on while the NBA is playing games. I mean, the NFL is moving into that nobody in America cares about it. It's an international game. It's huge. Look, it's the biggest stars, some of the biggest stars, not all, but some of the biggest stars in the league are international players now. It's an international game. That's why the NFL is trying to export their product a little bit more. And it's why they are trying to creep in on the December viewing and the Christmas viewing. And they realize, what are we giving this whole holiday over to the NBA for? Which, for the NBA, I feel like that kind of sucks because, like, the NBA season starts before Christmas Day, but it starts on Christmas Day. And everybody kind of knows that. And the NFL is kind of watering that down. So I would have to take that point there that, I mean, dude, they're showing you with other leagues that they don't give a damn about what any other league does. That's actually a really good point. I've forgotten about that. That is, you're not wrong there. They don't really care about that. Okay. Well, then, if all of this is true, and I have conceded that it is, I guess my question is, then what is their complaint about Saturday versus? Is it seriously just because they want people talking about it on Monday? I'm not sure I buy it. The social media impressions are going to go through the roof the night of the game and the day after, no matter what. And they care way more about social media than they do Colin Cowherd now. For sure they do. And by the way, I said it already myself. Colin Cowherd's going to talk about the Super Bowl on Tuesday if he's not at work on Monday. By the way, you realize all the big broadcasters are going to go to work, right? If they do that. You don't think Colin's going into work on President's Day if the Super Bowl is the day before? He will. Skip Bayless is going to work. Pat McAfee's going to work. Stephen A. Smith's going to go to work. Like, we're all going to take the day off. Although if all those guys are going to work, guess what I'm not going to do? Take the day off. I'm probably going to go to work. As a matter of fact, that's probably exactly what I would do. It's like, well, until we know for sure I'm right about what I'm saying, and we don't know that I am. I feel as if I'm right. I don't know that I am. But until I saw I was right, and it wouldn't matter, then I might take the day off. But I can't tell you how many times I've had days scheduled off and thought to myself, I can't do that. They're playing tonight. Or I can't do that show yet. I need to know what happens in this game tonight. I mean, we move our entire lives around games. We work our entire life around live events. It's just part of being a commentator for a living. That's part of that. I think the conversations are just as loud on Tuesday as they are on Monday. I think all you got to do is go back to last year's Super Bowl. I mean, we talked that game for 2 weeks on every show and every radio show and TV show in the country. I know for a fact we did it in here more than a few days because some of you complained about it. 330-450-7625 to text the studio. Now, you're going to have to call that number here in a moment because I'm going to be giving you Sonic Temple tickets. We'll have those all week for you as that show gets underway May 16th. We've been talking about moving the Super Bowl. It got brought up when Roger Goodell was doing an interview talking about extending the season to 18 games. They will. I don't care what anybody tells you. They will. They're going to get to 18. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't be surprised to see us get all the way to 20 regular season games. I think we're going to see the NFL change pretty dramatically over the next probably 5, if not closer to maybe 10 years. I think much like a pitching staff for a baseball team, I think you're going to see 2 quarterbacks be the new norm in the NFL. I think it's coming pretty soon. I think all you got to do is look at injuries, look at play styles. This guy actually fits better on 3rd and 4 than this guy over here. Let's go with our more mobile guy now. I think you're going to start to see a lot of that happen. And if we keep adding more games to the season, I think you'll actually need to have that as